going on, Yak Squad? Alright, so as promised, I'm going to show you how I did the lift kit on my 2018 Nucanoe Flint. I've already got everything disassembled. Honestly, I've already put it together once because I wanted to make sure that everything was going to line up, that everything was going to work as it should, that it was going to be solid. I haven't had it out on the water yet. That'll be Sunday, but I went ahead, I disassembled everything again so I can show you guys step by step how I did it. It doesn't slide, it doesn't shift, it's very stable, and it reuses most of all the factory stuff. The only thing you're going to do is you're going to need to buy some, I bought some 2-inch quarter 20 Phillips head stainless bolts, and I bought some 3-inch stainless steel carriage bolts. Other than that, you're gonna need some washers, some quarter 20 nuts, and yeah, that's really about it. You use the 4 original factory bolts. And the only other thing you're going to need is, I used galvanized strut. You can get it at Home Depot, at Lowe's. And what I used is the 1 5/8" by 13 16ths. So there's 2 different sizes. There's 1 5/8" by 1 5/8", and then there's 1 5/8" by 13 16ths. I like the 13 16ths shorter wall, so you're not going to have that flex that the taller wall would be on the square strut, but you still get plenty of lift out of it. So, see right here so you can see. Alright, and I laid the towel down so maybe it won't be banging around as much. Alright, so the original Nucanoe, these brackets, and they sit in here just like this. So what I did is I took them off. That's those 2-inch Phillips head stainless steel bolts. And you flip them over, and it doesn't really change anything on this part as far as the height, but what it does allow you to do, let's get this back, is take your strut. This is 11.5 inches. You take your strut and you mount it straight to the seat frame. This is those 3-inch hex head bolts. Use the factory, I'll call them bushings, but use those. They've got a little notch where the head of the carriage bolt sits down in there. Gives it a nice clean look. Doesn't have anything poking up so that you're not going to sit on anything and get an unpleasant surprise. But these are the factory bolts. I took the other part of the factory setup that would actually used to go on the bottom here, and I use them as a spacer inside with a 1/4-inch fender washer, 1/4-inch by 1-inch fender washer underneath it, just to help keep it pulled through from pulling through. And literally all you have to do is set it in there. The factory bolts are a little bit long. That's what you need the washers for. And all I did was I put 3 washers per bolt on the bottom, just to kind of give it some space. Doesn't hit the bottom of the kayak, so you don't have to worry about scratching up your baby or anything. But yeah, it's super easy to install. Like I said, really stable, and there's really nothing to it. I mean, you've got your 4 2-inch bolts. I didn't even put a washer on the bottom of them. And like I said, I've already had this thing together once. Just wanted to make sure everything worked before I told you guys how you could do it. So I've already pulled the Phillips heads down in there. They stay tight, being down in there. So you gotta just snug these up. I would recommend using the lock washers for the lock nuts, just so you don't have to ever worry about them backing back off. Because let's face it, nobody wants to go into the drink, go for an unexpected swim. Just get those snugged up. And take your seat with your galvanized strut on there. Drop it down into the factory holes. And I would assume that those are the holes that the pinnacle seat mount goes to. Like I said, I used 3 washers. I think it was 3. Let me double check that before I just tell you guys. Sorry, 4 washers. I had to use some of these. I had to double up because the fender washers that I had were really thin as compared to the others. So in order to get that, in order to be able to get them tight, I had to double them up. Slide those on the bottom. Your 11mm stuff here. If you do use a drill, I would not recommend an impact. You don't want to pull the heads of these bolts down in those bushings. They're already notched out for tubing, so if you pull them down in there more, you might not ever be able to get them back out. Which, you don't want to ever take it off, that's fine. But you just do the same on the other side. Super simple. It's effective. Makes getting up and down and to stand a lot easier. Plus, it just kind of gets that a little bit higher on the water. Maybe you don't like to stand. Maybe you just want to sit, and it gets you just that couple extra inches up. I think all in all, I had the strut laying around. I don't remember how much it was, but I mean, all you're talking about is some nuts and bolts. So, I mean, I may have $8 in this, $9. And the Nucanoe kit is not expensive. Don't quote me on the price, but I think last time I looked at it, it was $30. But still, I mean, $28. That's a lot of fishing tackle. Maybe a tank of gas to go to a new lake. that's it. I mean, not really, truly, that's all there is to it. It doesn't add much weight. I mean, you're talking maybe an extra pound, if that. But if you look, here, I'll give you an example. This is my Plano box my terminal tackle box that I keep underneath my seat. And before, it set, I mean, it wasn't real tight, but it set just barely underneath there. And now, get 2 boxes under there. So, I mean, you're not talking about a lot. Maybe an inch and a half total lift. And like I said, if you watch my unboxing video I did yesterday, I may keep this. I eventually want to do the Pinnacle 360 mount, and if I do that, I may go ahead and keep this set up and just add the 360 mount to it. I think the 360 mount adds 2 inches of lift, so with this setup and the Pinnacle system, you know, I mean, you're talking 3 inches of lift, 3.5 inches of lift. So, you know, your seat would be right around in there somewhere, which would be freaking sweet. I like the higher seating positions, so